to take a quick look today at the DJI RC Pro. I, like many of you, purchased the standard Mavic 3 with the Fly More combo. I didn't have for me, Apple ProRes is not something I really need, so the value just wasn't there. So what I received, like many of you, is the standard controller. This is the same thing that you would typically get with the DJI Air 2, I think. Anyway, it's the same controller that's been used with the last couple of drones from DJI. I think it's called the RCN1 remote. Anyway, it's standard. No antennas, although I'm sure there are antennas built in there. You snap a cell phone in there. Much to my dismay, the Mavic 3 requires the DJI Fly app, and that is incompatible with the Google Pixel 6 at the moment, which is a bit of a bummer. So I received a drone. I could not fly it because it was incompatible with my phone, and that's the only app that was compatible with the device at the time. So this was my my excuse to get this fancy RC Pro controller. I'm going to open it up and see what we have inside. I thought I might take a video of it while we do so. Okay, open. Fairly basic packaging. The box just comes with the controller itself, a little bit of standard information, some silica gel, and a charging cable with no charging block. At the price that you pay for this thing, you would think that you'd get a charging block with it as well, but no, not this time. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get rid of the box. And let's see if we can get ourselves through this packaging. This looks like it might be a challenge. There we go. So there's the controller. Quite sturdy. Looking for the control sticks. There they are. Very small threads on there. That could be a bit too easy to destroy. We'll see if we can make that last. So the antennas are folded like in past models. This is an improvement over the last version of the smart controller, though, where the antennas went down. I like this a bit better. Apparently there are 4 antennas built into this thing, even though it appears that there are 2. On the front, we have a back button, looks like. We have... What do we have? I'm not honestly sure what that button does. We've got the 5D button, power button, speed mode selector, obviously, the pause button, return to home button. On the bottom, we have micro SD, USB-C, HDMI port, and these kind of connection points for attachments if you wanted to include like a lanyard or something like that. On the top, we have, let me get rid of the antennas here. We have the video button and still photo button. On the back, we have customizable buttons, the C1 and C2. We have obviously a built-in speaker here. And we have the wheels, one to control the gimbal, one to control the zoom, which is fairly nice. It is quite a bit larger than the standard controller, as you see. Feels sturdier than the standard controller too, which is kind of nice. Well, why don't we see if we have it charged up. Is there absolutely no charge whatsoever? Well, that's going to make for an anticlimactic unboxing experience, isn't it? Let me take a second and go get a power cord. Stand by. All right, I've got a power cord attached. I hit the power button. I can confirm immediately that the, by the way, while I'm attaching these control sticks, that they are going to be something pretty easy to damage in the course of their use. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get set up. License agreement, I'm sure everyone's reading all of that. We're in the United States. I will go ahead and set up a network. All right, the network has been set up. Now let's take a look here. We want to pick a time zone. Central, Mountain, there we are, Pacific time. Next. Okay. I'll go ahead and log into my DJI account. You'll have to give me a moment to do that. All right, we've logged in. Now we want to activate the device. Your device info will be linked to this account and serve as proof of warranty. Go for it. Do we want to be involved in the product improvement project? Sure. All right, back. Oh, I see. This is the confirm/C3 customizable button. That's cool. Press once to return to the previous screen. Press OK, cool. Record, shutter, as we've already mentioned. Left dial is adjusting the gimbal. Right dial is adjusting the zoom. Return to home, break or pause, switch flight modes. Yep, we've covered that. C1, C2, I did a pretty good job of guessing what all this stuff was, the way it looks. Let's see, press back and corresponding button for operation shortcut. Interesting. Okay, adjust brightness, adjust volume, screenshot. That's cool. All right, I'm gonna need to remember that. Here we've got some indicators, blue blinking, links with the aircraft, blinking yellow, low battery, control sticks not centered, control temperature too high, okay. Solid red, aircraft not connected, solid green, aircraft connected, solid yellow, firmware update failed. All right, adjust the positions of the antennas to kind of map to where the drone is. Cool, I think we're good. Now it's going to open up the DJI Fly app. So while this is there we go, DJI Fly app. It wants access to all the things it needs. Absolutely, why not? I don't think we're going to do the new user guide. No, these are 3 short videos. I think these are all available on the web as well if you want to look at them. So I'm going to go ahead and skip those. All right. I do think we need to update the firmware most likely. Let's go take a look. So DJI Fly app, go to the settings. Check for firmware updates. New firmware available. Okay. Wow, that is a big firmware. Let's download it. 1,372 megabytes. That is quite a firmware update. I obviously won't make you listen to that. So a couple pieces of information while we are waiting for that to download. So this is a 5.5 inch screen. The resolution is 1920 by 1080. The brightness is about 1000 nit, which is just a little bit less bright than, say, an iPhone 13. It's about on par with the brightness of a Google Pixel 6. Battery life is up to 3 hours, according to DJI. I'm sure it doesn't really live up to that, but that's quite a duration. It takes about 90 minutes to charge. As I mentioned, there are 4 antennas. You obviously only see 2 antennas, but internally there are 4 antennas. So Ocusync 2 used 2 antennas. Here, Ocusync 3. It's got much faster bit rate. I think it was 15 megabits per second with this controller versus 5.5 megabits per second with this controller, the RCN1. So that means that we're going to get 1080p live streaming at 60 frames per second. That's pretty darn amazing to be streaming live. It's got a higher transmission power. I was looking at the blogs at the info. It looks like double to 3 times the transmission power. That gives you some kind of impressive range. So their hypothetical max range is 15 kilometers, like 9.3 miles, give or take. And then they break it into 3 pieces. So if there's strong interference, you can hope for 1.5 to 3 kilometers. So that's a little less than a mile to a little less than 2 miles. Medium interference, meaning suburban landscape, open line of sight with some competing signals. It's talking about 3 to 9 kilometers, or 2 to 5.5 miles, give or take. If you have low interference, that's where you're getting the 9 to 15 kilometers, or roughly up to 9 miles, which is insanity. I can't imagine in real life that would be the case. In any case, what it should mean is fewer disconnects, less signal disruption, stronger connections. It also has lower latency. So this controller has 120 milliseconds of latency versus the standard controller, which is 130 milliseconds of latency. That's not a lot of difference, but 10 milliseconds of latency, it can mean the difference of feeling a sense of immediacy while you're operating a controller. So the moment you hit the stick, you see the result on the screen. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let this run, and we'll come back and do the pairing and some settings. This has already been paired, but I'll show you how to do it anyway. You turn on the remote and turn on the drone. The DJI Fly app opens when the RC Pro is ready. I see I've got another firmware. I'm not gonna mess with that right now. It automatically goes into the Fly app. Now you could also, if you have not paired yet, there will be a button here that says Connection Guide, and it'll take you through these step by step if this is your first time. If you're in here and you need to pair it to a different device, it'll look a little bit more like this, in which case you go into the camera view, and then you go to Settings, under Control at the top up there, scroll all the way to the bottom, and you'll re-pair to aircraft. There'll be a link right there. So you click that, it gives you 60 seconds. You hold down the button, the power button, till you hear 1 loud beep and 2 short beeps. And that's all there is to it. So now we've been paired. Voila. Okay, I've moved the drone out of the way a little bit to show you the settings that I was going to mention. Again, not an expert on this, but a couple of observations that feel fairly obvious after you've used a drone for a while. If you haven't used it, this might not be obvious to you, but the primary thing that you notice when somebody is not experienced with their drone is how fast and twitchy and just completely lacking smoothness the video is. So there's a few settings definitely recommend that you tinker with if you haven't already. So pitch speed is how fast does the gimbal go up and down when you ask it to, using the scroll wheel there at the top. Pitch speed, I would recommend bringing that down significantly. Don't take my numbers as the solution, but I would recommend that be reduced until you notice that you're not creating a noticeable jerkiness in your video when you move the gimbal. Pitch smoothness is how fast does the gimbal stop moving after you've let go the scroll wheel. So I scroll, top one controls how fast it scrolls, the bottom one controls how fast the gimbal stops moving after I let go. So I would recommend increasing that above the standard setting, the default setting. So mine's at 20. Yaw rotation is how fast does the vehicle do this, right? So the speed is how fast does it do it, and the smoothness is when you stop moving the stick in that direction, how fast does the drone stop doing what it was doing. So same story here, reduce the speed, increase the smoothness. It'll make it so that you have to push the sticks a bit farther to get the yaw to move, and when you let go of the stick, it won't be a jerky stop, it'll be a smooth stop. So those are the primary settings. I would think most would agree with these. I wouldn't, you know, argue the specific numbers, but reduce the speed, increase the smoothness on both of these settings. I think that's an important setting if you haven't messed with those yet. Hopefully that was useful. Thanks for watching to this point in the video. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks. Bye-bye.